Tim, thank you. A dive into North Carolina's opioid crisis gives an alarming insight into the problem. The state says 5 people overdose every day. The drugs have left 36,000 families incomplete over the past 2 decades.
And one of them is a name you know well. WFMY News 2's Megan Malaris learned about Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough Jr.'s personal tie to the opioid epidemic.
And I'll never forget, I went into the cemetery, pitch black dark, standing there at her grave. And I told her that I was coming home and I was coming to join her.
Chronic pain is an opioid epidemic side effect.
That was the most difficult time of my life, the most difficult.
Even those who respond to calls for help sometimes have to make them.
How did this happen in my household? The same war that I'm fighting is going on in my household. How did I miss that?
Behind Forsyth County Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough's badge is a battle scar across his heart.
I told her one day, I was 13 years old, I said, I'm gonna marry you one day.
You knew she was the one?
Oh yeah. And we dated for years and we got married.
Bobby and Clementine Kimbrough, called Clem, turned 15 years of wedded bliss into a growing family of sons. Jalen was her baby.
Yeah, she seemed very outgoing, and she would take the clothes off her back for someone else.
Personality inspired her profession, a registered nurse at a large hospital.
She loved what she did for a living. She was proud to be a nurse. She was proud to wear that white uniform.
But the 12-hour overnight shifts took a toll. Plus, her husband was gone months at a time as a DEA agent fighting drug trafficking abroad. They counted on daily phone calls.
Looking back, there were several times when you could be talking to her in mid-sentence and she would just fall off to sleep. And at the time, I thought, she's tired, she's overworked. And I realized some things later on.
June 6, 2005, he was back in town running an errand when his older son called.
Jameson called me and said that Mom is asleep in the laundry room. And I said, sleep in the laundry room? And he said, yeah. And so I said, I'm on the way. And so he said, she won't move, I'm trying to wake her. I said, hang up. We dialed 911. I looked at her and got down on my knees to touch her, and she was cold. And I started doing CPR, even though she was cold, and I knew.
Sheriff, you said your answers to what happened came in the mail with the death certificate.
And it was confirming my worst fear. And I say that because even in death, we want death to be a respectable death. No one wants to say my loved one died of an overdose.
My dad used to tell everyone that she passed from an aneurysm.
Jalen was 18 months old when his mom died and only recently learned the truth of how. Acute methadone toxicity. Methadone is a long-acting opioid used to treat opioid disorder. A common side effect is drowsiness. So Bobby Kimbrough suspects his wife secretly used it as a sleep aid.
And then it became
addiction.
After her death, more red flags surfaced.
When I started going through her pocketbooks, that's when I realized that something wasn't right, because I started seeing the little vials that they come in the hospital, and I realized what happened.
And what happened next was a dark personal spiral.
How? Why?
Months later came a reckoning, a reminder of his why to push forward.
Then there was a ring at the doorbell. Doorbell rang. I went downstairs and it was my dad. And he asked me, was I all right? And I told him no. And we talked for a minute. And he said, you got to get yourself together because these boys need you.
He channeled that need into his work, eventually as sheriff, slowly peeling back layers of stigma.
2005, Ocean Hill, I lost my wife.
His mantra, "Never walk alone," is now the name and mission of his community outreach. In summer 2022, awareness inspired prevention, distributing the overdose antidote naloxone.
My favorite project that I worked on with Sheriff Kimbrough's office was getting the naloxone vending machine installed in the Forsyth County Jail, because we have actual proof that that has saved lives.
Amanda Clark is now Guilford County's first drug and injury prevention coordinator, spreading word about opioid prevalence across all socioeconomic backgrounds.
It just takes one person to save a life, and every one of those overdose deaths is preventable.
You wrote, quote, "Had we accessed the resources available, I would likely be writing a different story today." What story are you writing now for Clem?
I'm carrying out the legacy of her boys. The story I'm writing now is I'm being a better person. I'm telling her story. I'm being transparent.
There will be a child watching this story who has lost a parent to opioid addiction. What would you say to that child?
It's not abandonment. It was just God had a plan for you and for you to keep pushing and for you to tell your story.
So you remember the first time I brought you here? Remember the story?
Yeah.
What happened?
He said we started at the bottom of the hill, and he said when we got up here already, I immediately ran to her headstone.
All of us know our birthday and none of us know our exit dates. It ain't really important, right? It's what you do between those dates, man. Remember that.
Perhaps it's not the manner of death, but the meaning that matters. Saving lives is a legacy that lives. Megan Malaris, WFMY News 2.
Our state is getting $1.5 billion from big pharmaceutical companies in an opioid settlement. The state has used some of that money for more Narcan. The Guilford and Forsyth County Health Departments give away the life-saving treatment for free.